Hi guys, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. This is another one in our The Doctors Are In series, which is a collaboration series with myself and Irit. And you can check out the links below for links to her videos. This time we are working on rejuvenating some older supplies. So this time I'm starting once again with a 4x4 inch photo. It's a little bit smaller than 4x4. Once it's trimmed down with the white border on it, the whole entire thing is 4x4. And so I'm using the kit that I showed in the first video for this particular series. And so I'll link that in the information section below, but it basically includes the Olivia collection from Basic Gray and some newer items from my stash. And then I have this sketch from page 12 of Creating with Sketches Volume 2, and I will link to that in the information section below as well. And so I am going to be using that sketch just as a jumping off point. My final product is actually not going to look very much like that sketch, but I have a piece of vellum left over from my last layout. This is the second layout that I'm creating with this little mini kit, and I have the Olivia collection, and I also have some older Basic Gray Basics papers. And so the Olivia collection is from 2010 and the Basics are from 2009. So these are a little older supplies. There are those Basics papers, and I'm going to use the cleanest of those that I have. All of these papers have a bit of a grungy look to them, but this is the cleanest that I have picked out, and so I'm going to use this as my background. I love a nice grid paper, and this one is really nice, and my cat's just going to play a little bit with this paper while it's actually stuck in her mouth, so I'm playing a little bit with it. I'm easily distracted, but I got her off my desk, and now I'm back down to work. So I'm planning to mat my photo on that little extra piece of vellum from the last layout. And now I have these strips, and they're decent sized strips, and they're some of my favorite patterns that came in this collection. And so I have this one with these cute little characters on it, and then this other one with the hearts. And I thought that because the sketch calls for some horizontal strips of paper, and so I thought I would start with these two. And then I thought I really like this floral one too, but I don't think this floral one is going to work with those other two patterns. I feel like I want a third patterned paper, but I'm just kind of struggling with what that third pattern would be. And then I noticed that I have this giant chunk of this diagonal striped paper. It had a little bit of the manufacturer's strip left on it, so I just cut that off, and it ends up being just a little smidgen under 8.5 by 11, which I didn't do that on purpose, but that's just kind of how it worked out. And so I'm going to use that as my large piece of pattern paper on this one, and then I'm going to have these other patterns sit on top of it. And the more I think about it, the more I think I like the polka dots better than the hearts. And so my friend Stephanie is here, and I'm not sure exactly what that was about. I think she was just admiring that cute little critter paper, which is definitely going to stay. I can't not use that because it's one of my favorites. So one of the best ways to rejuvenate some older supplies is to mix them with some newer supplies. And the question, I'm just going to mat this on some black cardstock, just some plain black cardstock from my stash. And that's going to do a couple of things. It's going to add to the contrast, and it's really going to emphasize these patterns and make them separate from each other, because they were sort of blending into each other and looking a little bit too busy. And so what this really strong, solid black line does is it helps separate the patterns and keep them from blending in together, and gives them some nice distinction between each of those papers. And once I did one, I felt like I just needed to keep on doing them. So I'm going to go ahead and mat each and every one of the pattern papers on for this project. I'm going to mat all of them on black cardstock. So I'm going to have to go to my stash and get some more black cardstock. I have a whole package of 8.5 by 11 black cardstock. So I'm just going to trim them all down so that they have similar sized white or black mats on each of those pattern papers. And I am going to go ahead and mat that large pattern too. And so basically what I'm doing here is I'm kind of going with the papers, because the papers have a real, they almost look like they've been distressed with black ink. They have black ink streaks all through them. And so I am going to go with that by emphasizing the black streaks, by matting each of these pattern papers with black cardstock. And then what will freshen up this page is the embellishments that I'm going to use at the very end will be more modern embellishments. And so luckily this page is just almost 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to go ahead and mat it on an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. It's just a little bit longer there, but that's okay because I plan to run that edge off the side of my project anyways. And so here I am making a bit of a mistake here. I meant to trim that background paper down a little bit less. I didn't want such a large border of black showing around the edge of my background paper. I wanted it to be more consistent with the black edge that's around all of the pattern papers. So I'm going to compensate for that by just trimming this whole layout down. So this layout will be a little bit less than 12 by 12. And so it will float in my page protector a tiny little bit, but I don't mind that. I'll see a little bit of the page behind it showing through, and that's okay. I'm not going to mind that. If it really bothers me, then I could mat the whole thing on a piece of black or white cardstock. I would probably mat it on white cardstock. But I really like how it looks matted on the black, and I think I'll just float it in whatever page pocket it ends up going in. So at this point, I think I'm going to ditch the red pattern, not the red, the heart pattern paper, and just stick with the other two, the polka dots and the critters, and then have this large piece of diagonal stripe on as my kind of like my main background. So I'm just staggering these so that they're not ending in the same place, just to give me some interesting edges over on the left-hand side. And now I did off camera, I went upstairs and came back down and forgot to turn on my camera. All that I did was I matted the photo on that piece of vellum that I'd already had picked out. And now I'm just going to cut off those edges so that all of those strips just run right off the edge of the layout. And I really like how that looks. And I'm talking to my friend here, sorry about that. But I guess I'm just kind of thinking about, now that I have the base of this layout, which is quite a bit different than the sketch, but I do like the direction that it's going in. I'm thinking the best way that I can freshen this up is with some modern embellishments. So I'm pulling out some black and white embellishments. I really like how the black is the real pop on this one. And so I'm wanting to emphasize that by pulling out some black and some white embellishment potentials here. So I have my Freckled Fawn black and white kit, and I have these Hey Girl or Cute Girl chipboard embellishments. And this Hey Girl really kind of spoke to me right off the bat because it's so bold, it really stands out. And I think that anything that I put on this page is going to have to be quite bold in order for it to be noticeable on top of such busy and dense patterns that I have going on. So I'm going to audition it by having some wax paper here and just kind of try it out. And I really like how it looks, except it says Hey Girl, and there's like 3 of us girls there. So what I'm doing right now is I'm heading over to my Razcog and I'm going to grab some chipboard letter stickers. And I have these ones. These letter stickers are called Gilded, and I picked them even though they're a little tiny bit bigger than the font that's already on there. I figured with an S it wouldn't make such a big difference, and I just picked them because they were one of my few black chipboard letter stickers, so I didn't have many options. I did pull out those Cosmo Cricut ones you saw me hold there for a second in screen, and they have a white border around them, so they're not going to blend in quite as well. So I'm thinking I can add that S on the end to make this layout called Hey Girls. And then I have these half circle embellishments from Freckled Fawn, and they are wood veneer with black print on them. And I really, really love them. And I've been wanting to use them on a project where I can use multiples on one layout. So I want to use a few of these at the same time. I think they make really nice tabs sticking out between your layers, but I wanted them to sit on top of the paper for this particular page. So now again, I'm looking at these embellishments and I'm thinking that these cute little houses would look really, really sweet over to the side of my photo because we were at an inn. It's kind of like an inn resort in Cape Breton. And it has all of these really cute little houses all together, like these little inns that are kind of clustered together. And it makes for a beautiful walk on the grounds. And it's just one of the most interesting things about the place that we were staying was the fact that it was these little clusters of houses. So they're not really houses, but little dwellings that have multiple rooms in each. I don't know what you would call that. So I'm going to place them like that, and then I'm ready to commit to putting this this little banner that says "Hey Girl," and then I'm just using my scissors to cut the top edge off of the S, and then when I cut it, it just kind of tore a little bit of the black paint off of the face of it. So I just used a marker so that it wouldn't be so obvious that it wasn't perfect there. I'm using my Tombow Mono Multi to put these three, these three chipboard pieces up there and then the lovely one down there. And I think that the lovely just kind of balances the whole thing off and gives this page a nice diagonal flow to it. And now I'm taking these chipboard phrase stickers from the Freckled Fawn black and white kit, and I love these. I wish I had a million of these. I'm quickly running out of them, but I'm going to sprinkle them around the page, and these are going to be really the main embellishment on this one. And I think one of the keys to using some of the older paper, the scrapbooking paper, at least the older paper that I have in my collection, is very dense patterns. Like it seems like back a couple of years ago, a lot of the patterns were really, really dense with lots of interest in color and texture and designs on them. And so I think one of the best ways to balance a really dense paper like that is to space out your embellishments, but they have to be bold in order for them to not get lost amongst the background patterns. And so, for example, this green piece sticker here works well there because it's in such contrast. It's in a different direction than the stripes behind it, and it's a completely different color than the paper behind it as well. And then these black elements, and to a lesser extent these white chipboard pieces, they really pop out because they're black. And then the houses work because they have a really bold black outline all the way around them. And if they didn't, I would have drawn in a really bold black outline around them to make them work a little bit better. Now here's where I was thinking about adding some of these enameled dots. And certainly enamel dots is a nice way, and puffy stickers and so on. So I just put I'm going to put a camera and some little banners up here. Using more modern embellishments like enamel dots and puffy stickers and that sort of thing and banners is a really nice way to update something as well. So I'm going to take these black and white banners and I'm just going to outline them in gray. The reason I'm outlining them is because I'm using gray because I don't want it to be a huge contrast between them, but I do want to give a little bit of definition from one sticker to the next because I'm going to overlap them and layer them all alongside one another. And I don't want it to read as one single long banner. I want it to look more interesting than that. So adding the really faint outline around them in the gray pen makes that difference. Now I'm just taking my new gold stapler from American Crafts and I am putting some gold staples at the top. Again, those little tiny staples and the touch of gold is something that does make this layout look a little bit more updated than the papers from 2010. So then I just use my ruler to draw my lines, and I want continuous journaling that runs across all 4 of these little stickers so that it reads as one little piece of journaling, not as 4 separate pieces of journaling. The addition of the really strong, bold, my cat's trying to sit on my page. The addition of that really strong, bold camera there, because it's bold because it's black on a white background, really also adds a pop of interest up there to draw your attention towards where the journaling is. And so at this point, the reason I'm holding it up and looking at it is because I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do any splatters or enamel dots, because this is normally the time that I would add such embellishments if I were going to. But in this case, I am going to leave it like it is because I'm kind of liking the clean and simple look of this one. I think that if I were to add splatters, I would add black splatters and I would put them along the diagonal. So I'd put them over by that lovely wood chip and then up by the journaling, and over, it would kind of span over across the whole layout. So here is what it looks like up close. And then I would also sprinkle some enamel dots amongst those little paint splatters as well, just for a little bit of extra interest. But I really like how it looks. It really emphasizes the lack of splatters, emphasizes the strong angular look to this one with all those corners. Lots of corners are showing as opposed to being covered up. And then the Hey Girls on that curve softens up the page a little bit. And so I just wanted to show you the 2 layouts together so that you could see the 2 layouts that I made with this collection. 2 very, very different looks. One is very structured and neat and tidy looking, despite the distressed papers. And then the other one, the dive in one, is a lot more loose and organic, and it has a bit of mixed media in it, which is the white gesso. You can check out the process video for that one. I'll link it in the information section for this one. And here are some of the close-ups. So I hope that you've enjoyed this weekend series of The Doctors Are In. This one focused on rejuvenating old stash by using it in new ways or mixing it up with new embellishments. And so I hope that you have a really great scrappy week. And if you have any ideas for future series topics, just let us know in the comments below. Take care and have a great scrappy week.